Summary of Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. Silent Spring, published in 1962, is a groundbreaking work by marine biologist and conservationist Rachel Carson that is often credited with launching the modern environmental movement. The book focuses on the devastating environmental effects of chemical pesticides, particularly DDT, and the reckless use of these chemicals without proper scientific understanding or consideration of the consequences. The title Silent Spring refers to a future in which the once vibrant sounds of birds, insects, and other wildlife are silenced by the widespread use of toxic chemicals. Carson paints a vivid picture of a world where ecosystems are collapsing, where birds and other animals are dying en masse, and where humans are suffering the consequences of their own actions. The book is divided into several chapters, each exploring different aspects of the issue. One a fable for tomorrow, Carson begins with a fictional narrative of an idyllic American town where all life thrives, plants, animals, and humans live in harmony. Gradually, however, this paradise is destroyed by a mysterious blight. Crops fail, livestock die, children fall ill, and the town's once vibrant natural sounds, birds singing, bees buzzing, disappear. The town is left in eerie silence. This allegory sets the tone for the book and foreshadows the ecological devastation caused by pesticides. To the obligation to endure, Carson highlights the long-lasting and far-reaching impacts of human activity on the environment. She describes how chemicals like DDT, initially used to control pests, persist in the environment, spreading far beyond their intended areas of application. These chemicals accumulate in the food chain, leading to the poisoning of animals, plants, and ultimately humans. Carson emphasizes that the Earth's capacity to endure human damage is limited, and that continued abuse will lead to catastrophic consequences. 3 Elixirs of Death. Here, Carson delves into the history of pesticides, tracing their origins to chemical warfare research during World War II. She explains that many of these substances, developed to kill enemy forces, were repurposed for agricultural use after the war. Carson details how these elixirs of death disrupt entire ecosystems, not just the target pests. Birds, fish, and even soil microorganisms suffer the consequences of chemical exposure, causing a cascade of unintended damage to the environment. 4 Surface waters and underground seas. In this chapter, Carson discusses how chemicals used in agriculture and industry find their way into water sources, contaminating lakes, rivers, and underground aquifers. She explains that water, being a universal solvent, carries these poisons far from their original points of application, spreading pollution to areas previously untouched by pesticides. 5 Realms of the soil. Carson shifts her focus to the soil and the importance of its health for sustaining life on Earth. Pesticides, she argues, destroy the balance of microorganisms within the soil, killing off beneficial insects, bacteria, and fungi that play critical roles in nutrient cycling and plant growth. By damaging the soil, pesticides undermine the very foundation of life. 6 Earth's green mantle. This chapter emphasizes the impact of pesticides on plant life. Carson explains how plants, which serve as the base of the food chain, are directly harmed by chemicals, leading to declines in animal populations that rely on them. She stresses the interconnectedness of ecosystems, where the destruction of one component, plants, can lead to the collapse of others. Needless havoc. Carson offers case studies of communities and ecosystems that have suffered from the careless use of pesticides. She describes how entire species of birds and fish have been wiped out in some areas due to indiscriminate spraying. These cases illustrate how the pursuit of short-term pest control solutions has led to long-term environmental devastation. 8 And No Birds Sing. One of the most famous chapters, And No Birds Sing, discusses the decline of bird populations due to pesticide poisoning. Carson details how birds, especially songbirds, are particularly vulnerable to chemical exposure, and their deaths are a clear indicator of the broader environmental damage caused by pesticides. The loss of birds' songs symbolizes the silencing of nature, a key theme of the book. 9 Rivers of Death. In this chapter, Carson addresses the impact of pesticides on aquatic ecosystems. Rivers and streams, she explains, serve as conduits for chemical runoff from agricultural fields, spreading poisons downstream and causing mass die-offs of fish and other aquatic life. Carson warns that the contamination of freshwater resources not only threatens wildlife, but also poses a direct risk to human health. 10. Indiscriminately from the skies. Carson critiques the widespread practice of aerial spraying of pesticides, which often results in chemicals being dispersed over vast areas, far beyond the intended target zones. This indiscriminate spraying contaminates forests, fields, homes, and bodies of water, leading to widespread ecological destruction and posing serious health risks to humans and animals alike. 11. Beyond the dreams of the Borgias. Carson reflects on the moral and ethical implications of humans' attempts to control nature through chemicals. She likens the unchecked use of pesticides to the excesses of the Borgias, a Renaissance family known for their ruthless pursuit of power. Just as the Borgias wielded power without regard for its consequences, so too does modern society use chemicals without considering the long-term effects on the planet and future generations. 12. The human price. Carson explores the direct impact of pesticides on human health. She describes cases of pesticide poisoning, both acute and chronic, and draws attention to the potential for long-term health consequences, including cancer and genetic mutations. Carson argues that the risks to human health are too great to justify the continued use of toxic chemicals, particularly when safer alternatives exist. 13. Through a narrow window. In this chapter, Carson reflects on the limitations of scientific knowledge and the dangers of relying too heavily on technology without fully understanding its implications. She criticizes the hubris of those who believe they can control nature through chemicals and calls for a more cautious, thoughtful approach to environmental management. 14. The Other Road. Carson concludes the book by offering a hopeful vision of a future in which humans choose a different path, one that emphasizes ecological harmony and sustainability over short-term gains. She advocates for the use of biological controls and natural methods of pest management, which can be effective without causing widespread environmental damage. Carson calls on society to embrace a more responsible relationship with nature, one that respects the delicate balance of life on Earth. Legacy of Silent Spring. Silent Spring had an immediate and far-reaching impact upon its publication. It sparked widespread public concern about the use of pesticides and led to policy changes, including the eventual ban on DDT in the United States. The book also played a crucial role in the development of the environmental movement and the establishment of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. Carson's work remains a foundational text in environmental science and continues to inspire efforts to protect the natural world. In essence, Silent Spring is a clarion call for humanity to recognize its interconnectedness with nature and to act responsibly to preserve the delicate balance of life on Earth. Rachel Carson's message is as urgent today as it was when the book was first published. The choices we make today will shape the future of our planet and all the life it sustains.